Welcome to the Coach Bryan Moore Show. I'm Margaret Ann Prater alongside Coach Bryan Moore, and you can find us on YouTube. But I also want to remind you to tune into the NFHS Network every Friday night for our live broadcast of the football games. And Coach, let me go over our sponsors we want to thank for the Coach Bryan Moore Show. We've got Life Church Agency on Main, Marmac Commercial Real Estate, Peck Funeral Home, Eddie Pruitt Ford, Drake Eye Center, and Cullman Regional Hospital. All right, Coach, let's cut to it. You defeat Cullman 34-3, big region win, but it was a tale of two halves. Okay, first half you scored 24 quick points. Second half, several 3-and-outs. Was it a focus thing, or was it that Cullman just dialed it up and were going after us? I mean, what was happening?
Probably a little of both. I mean, we talked about it at halftime. It wasn't something we were just ignoring. We talked about coming out, finishing the game, dominating the game. We started really fast, and the first half, Jack was on fire. I mean, obviously, Rye had a few touchdowns that half, and I thought we threw and caught it well. And then the second half, we weren't as good. And of course, a lot of that does have to do with Cullman. I mean, they're a tradition-rich program too, and they aren't going to lay down, and they're going to fight. And they found a little momentum, really, in the game, and had a couple of drives and kept the ball away like they want to do. But we need to be better. We weren't very good against Jackson Olin in the second half, especially in the third quarter. We weren't very good against Cullman in the third quarter. So it's something to look at. We structured practice a little bit different. A lot of our stuff has been early in practice as far as competition periods, and so we pushed some of that to the second half of practice to see if we can't sort of get back going. And sometimes that happens, and you sort of read each team differently, and some of them start really fast and finish slow, and vice versa. So you kind of have to fill your team out, and so we're certainly taking steps to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, and one of the big positives I took from the game, besides not getting run over, I was really excited about that, was the number of guys that touched the ball. I mean, when I look at that from opponent's defensive perspective, how do you game plan for us? I mean, there's guys everywhere.
Well, a lot of balance, for us, and so we're fortunate to have guys that, that can do stuff with it. You can throw short balls to them, and they can take it to the house. I mean, that's obviously huge. We can create explosive plays without having to throw the ball down the field. But we need to continue to focus on our balance. Part of that is, as you get into game 3, 4, 5, in that range, you start to have tendencies, and so we've got to work real hard at not showing those tendencies as we, especially down the stretch, play these really good teams we're getting ready to play with really good coaches that'll figure that out. So how they touch it's got to be different every week. And so, Coach Prater and Coach Lang and all of our offensive staff have done a really good job with that.
Well, and we learned a lot about it. We talked about it on the broadcast at your coaches' luncheon.
Right.
We learned a lot about that this week. Let's talk about Jack. Jack started out just, I spoke to him today. I said, you're not going to do better than that first game. It was incredible.
Right.
Fell off a little bit second game.
Right.
It looks like he hit his stride, 76% completion this week. Was real comfortable in the pocket.
Right. Just missed one throw, I think. Missed a curl route on third down that he'd like to have back. Otherwise, I thought Jack was really sharp. I thought he did a really good job of, taking command of the game, especially early. The good news is, like, when you're a play caller, and everybody needs to kind of understand this, as your quarterback goes is kind of how you go. And so, like, with Jack hitting all those underneath things and hitting the crossers and then taking those screens and stuff, being really accurate, allows Coach Lang and Coach Prater to kind of build and expand on that, which is very comforting for you. And then for me, like, as the head coach, I can flip my mic up and just let them call the game and just sort of, watch and try to see anything I can. But the way that he's flowing in the game makes all the difference in how multiple and balanced we are. And so the way that he started, kept Cullman off track a little bit. A lot of play actions, tried to push the ball down the field. They kind of capped everything off. We hit some crossers to Eli and, again, some quick throws. But I thought he was really sharp. And Jack's been that way all year. I mean, I've been really proud of him.
Well, and I don't want to discount Rye Fletcher. He was dynamic with 138 all-purpose yards. He rushed for 130 of the 144 yards rushing we had. Good and bad thing, because one of his runs was 80 yards.
Right.
So, was the game plan to utilize the passing game, or was that just how the game flow happened?
Well, I didn't think we were great in the box, to be honest with you. And I know Matt's had kind of the guys have had a tough week so far, the offensive line, but we weren't as good as we needed to be, and we're blocking people. It's not that. I mean, we're getting the right guys covered up. We're not pushing and finishing blocks. And so we worked on that at practice too, as far as I'm a quick whistle guy at practice. What that means is that, I try, especially with our older kids, to blow the whistle fast so that we stay healthy, right? And so that we don't go to the ground and twist an ankle and that sort of thing. But what that does is offensive linemen need that long whistle, right? So they need to push and strain for more like 6 seconds instead of 3, And so in the ball game, those officials aren't calling a quick whistle. So I haven't done a very good job of that. And so I've kind of corrected that. And we've had some periods where, we're playing a little bit longer. And so we've done that. But I thought as far as the ball game, the rushing, wasn't there. What were some short fields too. The first drive started on the 20, and we were perfect in the red zone. The only real issue I thought from the game was third down conversions. We were really low on that. We didn't do a very good job with that. We've got to be a little bit better. But again, we need more balance in the run game too. Lincoln Bryant coming out and he caught a long pass for 50+ yards, so that was big. But he can take a little bit off a rye, and he needs to.
Well, and that follows up with last year you wanted 250 rushing.
Right.
That was your goal. Right now you're at 170.3 is your average.
Right.
Best rushing game was against Jacksonville.
Yep.
What's your goal? I mean, or do you have one?
I think as you play good people, especially, some of those goals kind of go out the window. Minimum numbers 150, which we're at 144, which that's got to be a little bit better. Right. That 2 sacks cost us. That was -11 on the 2 sacks. So we would have been over that number taking out the sacks. But we only snapped it 47 times on offense, and that was because we had 9 snaps in the third quarter. We had 3 3-and-outs, our only 3-and-outs this year, and we just didn't have any rhythm. But again, the good news was our defense got stops. Rye made a huge play at the end of the game with good blocking downfield and sort of finished. And then, Landon drove us and we kicked a field goal off the drive, which was really good. And he's gotten reps at Q every game, and he needs to continue to expand that role. But again, when you play really good people, and Cullman is good defensively, especially, you just take what they give you and live with, whether it's 300 passing, 100 rushing, or 300 rushing, 100 passing, doesn't matter as long as you're moving the ball.
Well, and speaking of which, we're going to talk about Crawford Lane when we get right back. We're going to take a quick break. You're watching the Coach Bryan Moore Show.
At Marmac Commercial Real Estate, our focus is providing service second to none. If you're looking to buy commercial property, development land, income-producing properties, or a farm, call the Marmac Commercial team. We provide service second to none. You can reach us at 256-214-2196 or 214-2227, or you can find us on our website at www.marmaccommercial.com.
All right, we're here with our Eddie Pruitt Ford Player of the Game. We got Trace Oden. Trace, great performance against Cullman, so you get to sit in the hot seat this week. Give me your favorite moment so far during the season, and it can be practice too.
Probably during the games, whenever any great play happens. It's just the team being so well together and so connected. Everyone comes up and giving each other high fives and congratulating each other.
That's awesome. And we've talked about that, Coach Moore and I have, during the show. And you talk about that togetherness. I watch you have a post-game huddle. And when y'all get in that huddle, you say family on 3. And you're the guy who does that. What made you want to step up to be the vocal leader this year?
Mookie was a linebacker last year, and he was kind of our juice guy. And I just think that everybody else needs someone to kind of bring some hype to them.
Okay. And you've been Mr. Consistency this year, but watching you grow, because I do broadcast stuff, you've grown physically and mature-wise. You've matured as well. What can you say about the off-season program that's helped you mold into the athlete and leader that you are? What have you done putting in the work to make you where you are now?
Everything's just kind of become like a routine, and have great coaches pushing in the weight room, on the field, learning techniques, the plays, just everything. It's just become a routine, and it kind of helps install some of that discipline.
All right, and I ask everybody this every time. Favorite part of practice?
Inside, always.
And what is inside? Because I have no idea. Grandma from home is not going to know. What's that?
Linebackers and defensive linemen will all come together, and they'll be against the offensive linemen, and we'll just go at it.
That's awesome. Okay. We've seen lots of improvement from a lot of players. So who's that guy that's the sleeper, the one that's slowly getting better right now, that by week 10, when I look back, I'm going to be like, Trace told us about this guy. He's the one we should have watched for. Who's that going to be?
I think it's either going to be Jake Haynes or Jake England.
Okay. Well, there you have it, people. Thank you so much for your time. We've got to get you back to class.
Right.
You're watching the Coach Bryan Moore Show. back with Coach Bryan Moore. And Coach, let's talk about Crawford Lang's performance. He had 2 big field goals and a couple of touchbacks. How does it feel to have him back healthy and know that you're going to be, when you're kicking off, those guys aren't going to usually start from anywhere but deep in their own territory?
Well, it changes everything. You know, you look at, I think we had 2 3 and outs defensively, and that was it. But they had to drive 80 yards, right? So they might make a first down, 2, get up close to midfield, maybe, but they haven't gone very far, you know, because they're starting at the -20. He has absolutely bombed some. One hit the play clock Friday night. He absolutely crushed it. Pregame, he's 5 yards in the end zone, and he kicks it all the way into Cullman's group on the other 30-yard line. I'm like, do that every time, would you? You know, and all the field goals have been right on. There's a lot to be said about that, though, as far as the operation with Zeke, you know, with Jack and the way they hold it, and then our protection's getting better and better. That's a huge weapon for us, you know, thinking about games like where you're driving in the red zone, you can't score, but you can make it a 2-score game with a field goal, automatically go there, right? And, you know, we did that with Russell in a couple games last year when he was healthy, right? And so it's just a weapon to have him, and it's a comfort with him too. But we're doing a lot as far as punting. Our punting's been good. Eli's done that really well. Been really pleased with our special teams overall.
Well, and LSU could use you.
It's a bad look.
It seems both teams kind of slowed down that second half, and I really would like to attribute it to the heat. We saw a couple of guys cramping up. How crazy is it? The hottest game of the year so far was week 3.
Yeah, I thought the humidity was going to be down, to be honest with you. You know, we take precaution, and, you know, we do certain things the night before and then as we lead up to the game. And, you know, of course, our trainers have it handled. But still, it was warm, and that turf's different too. You know, with the 2 games on the grass, turf's hotter, especially on your legs. And so our guys just kind of got to, you know, need to get used to it. But overall, you know, again, I thought we had some cramps. We were able to get them back in the game, which is huge. But hopefully we're done with that going forward.
Yeah, it should cool off.
For sure.
Hope so. Then one final question about offensively and defensively. Do you think we showed up and matched Cullman's physicality this time?
Finally, yeah, I think so. I thought we were the aggressor in the game. I thought for the first time since I've been here, you know, we took it to them early. I think their first 2 drives were 3 and outs. You know, we scored touchdowns on both drives to make it 14-0. And that style of play, when you put them down 2 scores, changes everything about the game.
That's right.
You know, and in the past 2 years, we've been either they've led or been right at it, you know, back and forth. I think that was a huge momentum deal to get a stop early, force a punt. Rye has the huge return. +20, we go in and score 3 plays later, and then it kicked off, then they're at the -20. You know, again, I've said it before, but it feels like you're suffocating people because they're backed up and you're winning the field position battle. Their average starting field position was inside their own 20. They were at the 17.
You can't ask for
And
better.
so to go 83 yards is pretty tough.
That is. All right, we're going to take a quick break. You're watching the Coach Bryan Moore Show.
Hi, I'm Jenny Tankersley.
I'm Dwight Tankersley.
And I'm Jane Hampton, and we're your agency on Main. Local realtors here to serve you. One of our team members will be more than happy to find you that perfect home. Go Tigers!
We're back with the Coach Bryan Moore Show. Margaret Ann Prater alongside Coach Bryan Moore. And Coach, the quiet heroes of the last 2 games have been the defense.
Yeah.
And they've allowed 6 points total.
Right.
Last season, the offense was the juggernaut. I'm starting to see that pendulum swing a little bit here. What can you say about that?
Well, you got to love it. I mean, again, because you're going to have lulls offensively. You know, again, let's go back to the 3rd quarter. The defense kept getting stops.
They did.
You know, the points they gave up was a 50-yard field goal. So, you know, you'll take that all night. And the kid was 1 of 3 on the night, you know, or he missed the other 2. So I love what Coach Newton and his staff has done. You know, obviously the kids are the ones out there playing, and we've got a lot of leadership. You know, I do want to mention one thing. You know, Walker had the personal foul in the game, right? And or the unsportsmanlike, whatever it was. And it's so cool to see. You know, obviously we addressed that issue, right? But he immediately came to me at halftime and said, I want to talk to the team. You know, he said, I blew it. I'm sorry. You know, and that's when you know that things are starting.
They're taking account.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's the heat of the battle. I mean, it happens, you know, in high school football, and obviously you got to address it and move past it. But, you know, just for him to say, I'm the team leader, because he is over there, especially, defensive leader, I've got to make this right. And he wanted to. That just tells you all you need to know about the direction that we're trying to go. And then our team's going. And again, they're producing because of it. They're tackling better. The missed tackles each week has gone down. This week, I think it was 14. The week before it was 17. The first week was 30. So again, we keep bumping that number down. You're never going to tackle perfect. I hope we have one of those nights.
Cool.
But it's tough. I mean, the other kids are good too, And so, but I just see progress in the way that we're running to the football, the effort we're playing with. I love our defensive staff. They're doing a great job.
Well, and speaking of which, Trey Soden, player of the game, he had 8 tackles. He has been Mr. Consistent.
Yep.
So what can you say about his performance and how he's grown as a player and as a leader? I mean, the leadership quality.
Right.
He's
well,
really stepping up.
The truth is, this game a year ago, he was not good in. Cullman took it to him. He's long, 6'5", and playing with leverage against these option teams is really tough for him. To bend and get down there with a 6-foot, guard and a 5'10" running back. So that's tough on him, especially when they're coming right at you. He was so much more physical. We're going to look at a play, with him being extremely physical. But I've just been really proud of Trace and the way that he's developed. He's changed his body. I mean, he's heavier. He's more like 210. Last year he played at 180 pounds, 6'5", 180. Rail thin, and he's put a ton of work in the weight room, extra work constantly. Coach Holly, I don't say enough about him, is our strength coach, but also coaches our linebackers. He and Jake and Caden Worley have just had a great year, and Coach Holly's had a lot to do with that. The way that they're physical and take on blocks and their blow delivery and how they run to the football has been a testament, because if they don't, they bear crawl on Monday. That's kind of the deal. If they have a loaf or anything like that, there's lots of bear crawls going on, and they don't want to do that anymore. No. So you see those guys just pinning their ears back. I'm running the ball. I'd rather run now than bear crawl later type deal.
Right.
And so you got to love that and the development of those 3 guys.
Well, and Peyton Steele got his first pick. He's been consistent. He's been playing since he was a freshman.
Yeah.
And so it was good to see him get a pick. What can you say about Peyton and his consistency? He was just finally in the right place at the right time.
He was, and his eyes were really good. Coach Cole talks about, the way we read things, especially if he's a center fielder, middle of the field guy. He's kind of our quarterback back there, but his eyes have to be really good. And when you play option teams with all the motion, there are a lot of moving parts. So if his eyes are in the wrong spot, they'll throw a post behind him or whatever, hard play action, and throw it behind him. I thought he was really good, in the right place at the right time, got over to the third and helped, I believe it was Drake or Jacaleb, I don't know which one, got over there and picked it off, and the corner was in great position. And it put us in really in a spot to return that ball too, to give us a chance to drive again and try and get 3 out of it. But Peyton's been great all year, 3-year starter, just a junior, you gotta love that. But he's a great kid and a really good player back there.
Well, and I keep going through the defensive line, Porter Simmons' play.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't he set the tone in that first drive when he batted that pass down? I think it was the second play, maybe.
No doubt.
And he's a sophomore.
Yeah, and so Porter last year, same deal as Trace, was light. Obviously being a freshman last year, had a hard time holding in there, but he was really physical in the game. Tackling the dive back on Veer, and I think Coach Fulks does a thing called a havoc rate, which is basically how many plays they affect based on the total amount of plays they're in. He affected 44% of the plays he was in. That's a big number.
That's huge.
So almost half the plays, Porter, as a defensive end, had something to do with it. I think Porter's got a chance to be a Power 5 football player. I really do. We're trying to get his weight up. He's doing everything he can to do that. He's, like I said, legit 6'5", and so he is playing at a really high level right now.
That's great. We want to keep it going.
No doubt.
We'll be right back. You're listening to the Coach Bryan Moore Show.
We at Eddie Pruitt Ford are so excited about another great year of Friday Night Lights and Hartselle football. Go Tigers!
And we're back with Coach Bryan Moore Show. Coach, it's homecoming. It's Columbia. New coach, same team, same story.
Yeah.
What do you do? It's hard. It's got to be hard.
Well, I think, this week we're talking about having vision and visualizing what it is that we want long term, and this is another step towards that. We've got to focus on Hartselle. That's true. We've got to block out all the things that go on here. I've never seen homecoming like this right here. It's and it's great though. Experience that you would want your kids to have. Your own children and your players and cheerleaders and band and everybody included. But it's a school that has pride, that shows that pride in an incredible.
So competitive.
I mean, it's unbelievable, the skits and the and all the stuff that goes along with it. But we have to play a football game, and it's a region opponent, and so they're more organized than they've been. They have more players than they've had, and they are doing a better job of trying to be competitive in ball games. And you've seen that a little bit, from them, some baby steps for Columbia, And but again, as far as long-term vision of what we want to do, this is another part of it. Like, we've got to get better. Our best football practice this year was Monday. And on Labor Day, and everybody else is out or at the lake or whatever, and we're practicing football, at 8 a.m. And I thought we had a really physical day because there were some bumps in the road against Cullman that we need to improve on. And, we're doing that. Our coaches are so good about, taking a 30-plus point win in a rivalry game. One of the biggest I looked through the history of this rivalry with Cullman, one of the biggest wins in the history, and still our coaches and kids are still, hungry for more, and that's where you want to be. That's your mindset of a program that it's not about who you play. It's not about all that. It truly is about Hartselle and how good we can be. And we're doing that. We're taking the right steps, both coaches and players and all of our support staff and everybody included, to continue to put our best foot forward, because we know down the stretch, like, if we don't play well against Columbia, okay, and we slop around and we're distracted and whatever and put the ball on the ground and miss tackles and give up big plays, it's going to come back to haunt us when we're playing Oxford or when we're playing Bob Jones or playing Muscle Shoals or whoever at the end. And so we've got to continue to develop and focus only on Hartselle.
Well, and this also gives you an opportunity for some of the young guys to get to play.
For sure.
And who are we going to look for on Columbia? They're going to have some athletes.
Yeah, they've got number 8. A lot of their kids play both ways, and I hope we get to the young kids playing. But we've got to handle our business early.
Right.
Number 8 is a linebacker, running back for them. That is a good player. He would be a good player on any team in our region. So they're always going to have 1 or 2 kids that you go, all right, look now, it's like May Jemison last year. If we don't get up and tackle these guys and get going, then he'll get downhill and make a long night for you. The first year we played, we didn't get to play last year at homecoming, but the first year we played them, they had an outside linebacker that forced a fumble on the first drive, scooped it up and ran with it. I'm like, what is going on? And we can't have that happen. And I hope that our team is mature enough to handle business early in the ball game, and again, play our brand of football.
Well, and you've already answered this question, but you may go into a little more detail. Homecoming week with the distractions. I mean, your starting quarterback is the senior class vice president.
Yeah.
Your starting center is the senior class president.
Right.
And they're really buying in. So you want them to have fun, but it's hard to create that balance.
Yeah, and I have to be the bad guy, on a lot of stuff, regarding pep rallies and that sort of thing, because I just, I don't want to be so old school that I don't understand that they've got things going on, but at the same time, we still have business to attend to. And, today they were wearing sports coats and aviator sunglasses, to school, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on
They were
right
the
there.
Secret Service.
Yeah, it's just a lot, it's a lot of stuff. And but the good news is, the best part about our team now is that they can do all that during the day, still go to class and do right, and then they'll come and have a good football practice today. I feel 100% confident in that. And I can't say that 2 years ago, that we could handle it, and be mature about it, because I want them to have the experiences of a high school student. This is high school football, right? Like, we got to keep it all in perspective right here, that we are 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, whatever, are playing a game because they chose to, you know what I mean?
Right.
And, we're the crazy ones to put our livelihood on it, we're the ones anyway. But we want them to have the high school experience, and Hartselle affords us that, and, our administration, everybody involved gives us that, and all the mamas that are staying up till midnight and 1 in the morning. It's just,
homecoming buckets and everything.
It's a different deal. And, but it is fun, and this is the type of school you want to be at, attend, coach at, work at, because of the pride they have.
Right. It's a mess, but it's fun. It's a fun mess. Eddie Pruitt Ford fan question of the week. After 3 weeks of not being tested, how do you get your team ready for Gadsden City and Oxford? And I wasn't going to address that this week because I'm going to address it next week. But, but there's got to be wrinkles going in there right now.
Well, and I can say that, like, even though, the scores, we've won those games and we've handled business like we needed to, I never go into a game, even the Cullman game. I had some people come up and say, I just don't think they're as good. I said, I do. When I watch the film, I'm like, man, I think they're really good. I don't know what film you're watching, but I'm watching Jackson Olin with all their dudes up there, and I'm watching Austin, who's much improved, who just beat Sparkman. And so I'm like, Okay, I mean, you know, it doesn't take much for me to turn on that film and go, we're going to have our work cut out. Obviously, I haven't looked at Gaston City and Oxford yet. I'm even homecoming week and everything, I'm still trying to, I can't. I like mentally can't do that. And, you know, I can't be my best and our best if we do that. And so we're going to handle our business here. But, you know, I don't think it's going to be hard from Gaston City coming from Hoover's region, you know, down to 6A. You know what I mean? To know that they've played some really good people and they're probably going to have 4 or 5 Division I's and Dre Kirkpatrick's sons over there playing. I mean, it's not going to take long, you know, to know that these guys can play. And then Oxford won a state championship 2 years ago. And then Muscle Shoals, and just our back half is unbelievable now, all the way through Bob Jones. And so I don't think that's going to be difficult. We got to focus one at a time. We have handled business like we're supposed to, but that's because our focus has been where it needs to be. And that's going to continue.
That's excellent. All right, we're going to be right back with what's happening in Hartselle High Athletics this week. You're watching the Coach Bryan Moore Show.
I'm Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue, and I'm here to tell you about the Big Green Egg, the ultimate cooking experience. The versatility of the Big Green Egg is unmatched. It delivers big results as a grill, a smoker, and even an outdoor oven. Grill burgers, kebabs, steaks at 800 degrees, slow smoke a perfect slab of ribs, and even bake a crispy pizza. When the doctor cooks, I demand the best, and that's why I cook on the Big Green Egg, the ultimate cooking experience.
Peck Funeral Home is owned and operated by folks who live in the same communities they serve. Our employees are the heart of our business. The funeral home proudly employs over 30 local individuals. Currently, the funeral home is managed by Jeff Halbrooks, who has held that position for over 20 years. Our goal is simple and has remained the same now since 1929. Peck Funeral Home strives to provide genuine service from the heart.
All right, this week in Hartselle High Athletics, let's start with Wednesday, September 7th. 9th grade volleyball is going to host Buckhorn, Hazel Green, and Huntsville here at Hartselle High School. Thursday, September 8th, volleyball is going to travel to Sparkman. That's the high school team. The junior high team is going to Priceville, but football, 7th and 8th grade, they're going to host Athens at J.P. Kane. Friday, September 9th, that's homecoming versus Columbia at J.P. Kane. Saturday, September 10th, volleyball's going everywhere. We've got 8th grade volleyball at Danville, but our high school is going to host the Eddie Pruitt Ford tournament here at the Hartselle High Gymnasium. Cross country is going to Oakville for the Chickasaw Trails event. And on Monday, September 12th, HJHS volleyball is going to compete against Muscle Shoals here. 9th grade football hosts Brewer. And on Tuesday, September 13th, volleyball is going to travel to Gunnersville, and junior high volleyball will travel to Austin. Those are the athletic events this week at Hartselle High School.